Hello and welcome to the Empower Couples podcast, where here you get modern, non-boring relationship advice for you and your partner to communicate like pros, fight smarter, and stay on the same team no matter the challenge that you face. I am one of your hosts, Aaron Freeman.
And I'm Jocelyn Freeman, but you all just know us as the Freemans.
And this episode is about how to create emotional safety so any topic can be brought up.
And that emotional safety piece has actually been verbalized by many people that we're talking to on our sessions. Like they're like, I want to feel emotionally safe, but I don't. And it's coming from men, women, like it really is coming from all different types of partners.
And typically it's around a specific conversation or topic, right?
Yeah, it's like a subject they feel they can't bring up, or I can't ever bring up this emotion. This emotion, tends to trigger you. If I'm angry, you can't be with that. If I'm sad, you can't be with that. So it's like there's certain topics or emotions that are like a no-go. And that's obviously not ideal for your partnership. And then we put up a poll on Instagram stories yesterday with 3 different podcast topics. And this one by far had the most votes. So it's obviously striking a chord for how maybe many of you feel or what you're recognizing within your relationship. And, this is something we all can work on. We can all work on creating more emotional safety. And there are times where even if you're on the self-development track, you might find yourself unconsciously getting defensive when your partner's emotional or unconsciously trying to fix it. So we also fall into our own patterns sometimes, and we aren't perfect at always embracing each other's emotions.
Yeah, and I think more so probably that you feel unsafe. Mm-hmm. So of course there's your side where you get defensive, and that allows or really has your partner feel unsafe. Mm-hmm. But probably the most, we'll say, top of mind or top of experience for you listening right now is that there's something you feel unsafe to bring up, and it's often because of probably how your partner has responded in the past.
Exactly.
Now let's zoom out, because being in a really healthy and an empowered relationship, you should be able to share emotions.
Absolutely.
No matter what they are, right?
Yeah, and there's this quote, and I don't think I created it. I think someone else...
Pretty sure not.
Yeah, I think someone very wise, who I don't know who it is, said that emotions are the language of the soul. Like that's powerful, right? Emotions are the language of the soul. So if you and your partner want depth to your relationship, like you don't just want a superficial kind of functional relationship that we've talked about, right? Where you're kind of roommates, life works, you do things around the house together. No, if you want depth, if you want connection and vitality and fulfillment, emotions have got to be a part of that.
Or on the other side, when you bring up emotions, your relationship feels very fiery and very reactionary. So it's not that you feel like this routine or this roommates. It's like we're always reacting towards one another.
It could be both of those places. So it can't be fiery or complete suppression, right? Like you don't want to be in either of those places. And what we invite you to think of with emotions is that emotions are signals. And they provide great information for you and your partner as to what you need, what's in alignment, what's not in alignment, what's out of balance, or what needs healing. So emotions don't need to be something that you react to with each other, or that you fix, or that you take personally. You can go, oh, okay, emotions are giving us information. Mm-hmm. Wow, if my partner is revealing this emotion, which by the way, isn't always the happy emotions, being elated, being excited, being joyful. It might be anger. It might be frustration. It might be sadness. It might be guilt. It could be any of those emotions. All of them are information. And that's how you really want to see them for both yourself and your partner.
Mm-hmm. And you had down here about energy and motion. And I know that's been said before, so you listening, you may have heard, oh yeah, emotions are energy and motion, but they really are. So you have a certain thought, and in this case, there is then the emotional feeling. It's actually chemistry in your body, certain mixtures of hormones and chemicals, in a sense, that are being triggered by your central nervous system, and these are moving in your body. These emotions and this chemistry is actually moving. So when we say energy and motion, we're not actually talking about some conceptual idea that you saw someone post. emotions are energy in motion. Hashtag. No, that's actually what's happening. This energy exists as this chemistry in your body, and it's moving. Where do you feel it right now? Is it moving in, or maybe more so when you're actually thinking about bringing this conversation up, it can actually be moving in your stomach. It could be moving in your chest and in your heart. You may feel this energy moving in your throat, even like in this case, maybe blocked up. You feel like the words don't want to come out. So that is not just a conceptual idea. This is an actually movement of this chemistry in your body.
Exactly.
And if you don't express them and you suppress them, where do they go? I mean, this is a little bit outside of my depth, but that chemistry is being produced. It's going to get absorbed into the cells. It's going to get stored somewhere. And you have to be able to move this. Otherwise, it's just lying dormant to be more of a blow up sometime later.
Exactly.
It can start to manifest itself as illness in your body. Dis-ease. And this isn't to frighten you, but this just goes more to show that it's not just being able to have a relationship where you feel safe to express and share. This is a powerful place to live as a human being so that you don't trap these things in your body. That's another powerful reason to be in a relationship like this.
Exactly. And those emotions, you don't want to be stuck and, like you said, just ready to come out later sometime. And so the goal here, because we're going to give you some specific how-tos and how to create emotional safety. The goal with the steps that we're providing is that within your partnership, there aren't topics you can't bring up. You know, we hear couples sometimes say things like, oh, we just avoid that subject, or, oh, I just can't bring that one up to them. No, that's not what you want, especially if it's something important. Now, if it's something that's just like, it really isn't important to your life and you just tend to have an area of disagreement, okay, that's one thing. But if it's actually something that's a part of your life and your fulfillment, then there should be no, oh, I can't discuss that. All topics should be on the table for you to be able to express emotion, right? And so the other goal is that all emotions are accepted. Of course, we're going to talk about expressing them in a healthy way. We're not saying that if your partner's angry, they should be able to take it out on you however they want. No. We're going to talk about healthy expression of emotions. But all emotions should be validated. If you're angry, okay, anger is a part of the human experience. You're sad, all right, sadness is part of the human experience. And that's what we want you to underline is emotions are human. And if you want to have that, life, that fulfillment, that true experience, you don't want to be just neutral and kind of blah. Like you want to experience the full range of emotions.
And as we were contemplating on this topic for today, I wanted to share what came to me. And we always look for where these things play out in our relationship. Even if we do a poll and we get answers back, we make sure that we contemplate and look at that area as to where that's showing up. So I did that today, and I wanted to share here because I realized one of the biggest traps, in a sense, is to make this about your partner. And when you say that I'm not safe to bring this up, you're talking about you're, in a sense, afraid or unsafe about their reaction, or you feel unsafe because of what you're going to feel. Maybe judgment from them, maybe more of an outward reaction. But I have to say this because the problem is that when I say you, the person listening, I'm actually talking about myself as well. So I could say us, but I'm going to talk to the listener here. You don't know what safe means to you. And you haven't specifically communicated to your partner what that safe means. So you have to own this piece for yourself, because when you haven't done that, what does that mean? That feeling safe becomes so subjective in the moment when this conversation happens or when this emotion comes up. And this will cause you to feel much more reactionary, as well as probably frustration on the part of your partner because they feel like this is a moving target. Now, let me give you the specific example for me. So today even, so maybe this was meant for us to talk about on the podcast since here we are doing this. But today on our walk, I had desire just to share with you what emotions were coming up for me. I mean, I wasn't looking for any sort of fix. I was just wanting to verbally share, and you did give me that space on the walk. But then when we got back, I think it was from the gym, or no, we were going to go to the gym. You said to me, make sure you have fun today. And that, to me, in that moment, felt unsafe because it was something for me that I've shared before. Where like I have like two, I think, sources of frustration, and I can't remember the other one. But one is that I don't feel kind of safe to share when something is maybe negative or just not so positive, right? I've said that to you before.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the main things for me. But when I really reflect on this, your response or what you do or what you say is very subjective in the moment. So when you said, make sure you have fun today, that was just me subjectively in the moment making meaning that I wasn't safe. So when you feel unsafe, it's just random. Like your partner doesn't know what they can say or not say. Then all of a sudden you feel it's unsafe for you to share. And that's kind of how I've been feeling, but I never actually looked at, well, what has me feel safe? And then to communicate that specifically to you. Hey, when I bring up X emotion, here's what actually has me feel safe. So if I don't do that, and for you listening, if you're not getting really clear on what has you feel safe, can you see how this is a very subjective moving target that's just going to be frustrating for your partner? Like, I don't know how to respond to you because it all seems like it's unsafe or you take it personally. So that's something I just noticed for you listening and for me as well, just to get clear that it's not you, Jocelyn, making me feel unsafe. It's my lack of clarity and my lack of communicating what needs to happen for me to feel safe.
Thanks for that authentic share. And I definitely would like to discuss that more together to understand it even more. And I think it'd be helpful if we got into the 4 ways that couples can create emotional safety. So the first thing, and this is super important and often forgotten very easily, is that you must be comfortable with your own emotions. When you're feeling something, do you pause and check in on what emotion is this? Where is this coming from? Do you embrace it? Do you hold space for yourself? Or do you kind of deny or even try to avoid your own emotions? You get distracted, you get busy. I'll just work more. I'll just clean the dishes. I'll just do the laundry. I'll just, do anything, watch TV, be on your phone. So if you're either denying or avoiding your own emotions, you likely will express your emotions while being on guard or take them out on your partner. Like if you haven't embraced your own emotions, you could then go to your partner with them like, blah, here, take this, right? And you kind of take it out on them because you haven't sat with and embraced your own emotions.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's even a part of what I was expressing too. It's in that moment that I was sharing, I felt unsafe, but it was more so that I was uncomfortable with the emotion that I was feeling. One of the other things in this first topic here is that I think it gets confused that expressing your emotions is not about saying what your complaints are to your partner or what your dislikes are. Mm-hmm. And often that's really more of a reactionary standpoint or verbally being emotionally triggered. And that's got to be really understood. Expressing, it's not just talking. Expressing your emotions is not just saying, like you just said, here's how I'm feeling, and you're the one making me feel this way. Number one, because you're not clear about your own emotions, but also that you just start saying the things that you don't want or where they have to change. And that's not really expressing your emotions. That's being very reactive and giving into your emotional triggers. So I think that's a key part to understand this differentiation between, of course, verbalizing your complaints and dislikes versus actually expressing your emotion.
Yeah, a lot of people, when we're talking to them, they haven't sat for a minute to really check in on, where is this in my body? What am I feeling? Where does this come from? Again, they're kind of on autopilot And then they wonder why they react so much to their partner. So it is so key for this first point that you become very comfortable with your own emotions, including the anger, the frustration, the sadness, and that you embrace them first. Like you accept your own emotions before you can go to your partner and have a conversation that's constructive about them. So then let's go to the second point. So the second point, in order to create emotional safety, and we want you to think of this as being the sender. So this second point is about how you, the communicator, the expresser of emotion, what we're going to call the sender, you must be mindful that your emotions aren't expressed as an attack. And you kind of expressed this, Aaron. It's like, okay, I can't be bottled up, avoiding my own emotions, and then go and attack my partner as the outlet. So you want to ask yourself, what's my intent for expressing these emotions? If I want to sit down with my partner and have a conversation about a certain topic and share my feelings about it, what's my intent? Is my intent to make them wrong, make them feel bad, make them fix it, make them change? Or is your intent to connect, to reveal, to have an emotionally powerful conversation, to heal something? Your intent can either be to kind of make them wrong or heal something. And that intent is really, really important when you're expressing that emotion. So the sender would ideally reflect before even initiating the conversation.
Yeah, and as you get better and better at this, the reflection could be you make a request for a pause. Maybe it's 15 minutes you reflect. As you practice this, your reflection can actually be happening, I believe, within a few seconds. You're just not wanting to be in the reactionary mode. And a way to do this is to, as you express, it's got to be from that I perspective. An attack is pointing the finger outward and saying, you are the source of these emotions I'm having. You are the source partner of my feeling of being unsafe. And that just isn't going to allow for the space for these emotions to be expressed and to be understood, to be accepted, to be free, to be held. You know, when we talk about holding space, there's this feeling of like actually being held by your partner, that it's safe what you are feeling. So to share it from this I perspective, as you said, with your known intent, you could even share that. Hey, my intent is to share something I'm feeling uncomfortable with, and it's just so that there's better understanding here, or that we both do end up feeling safe with whatever we're feeling, and not a, here is what I need you to do so that I feel better. A lot of times that's how this quote unquote expression comes off. Hey, I'm feeling unsafe, and now I'm going to be expressive. I mean, how many couples do we talk to? They're like, oh yeah, I'm an assertive partner and I tell my partner exactly what I'm feeling. No, that's not. If you are saying, here's what you now need to do in the future so that I don't feel uncomfortable with my own emotions. And that's more of a trying to control the communication and control really your circumstances to avoid feeling. And that's not what we're talking about. We want to be able to all move to a place where we're expressing our emotions, to feel accepted, to be held, to be loved, non-judgment, so that we can feel whatever we're feeling all the way through and not avoid emotions.
Yeah, the sender, as the sender, your intent again, and this used to be kind of mine unconsciously, was for almost like my partner to, how do I put this into words? But just like, here, take this. Like, I don't like it. I don't like this emotion, so you take it.
Yeah,
and that
that's
can't
true.
be it. They can't be the doormat or the outlet because you aren't comfortable again. Like, that's why that first piece is so important. So your intent has to be really about constructive conversation, healing, releasing something together. That's a much better intent as the sender. So then the third piece to create emotional safety within your partnership is as the receiver, right? So the second point was about the sender, the communicator, the expressor. Now the receiver, which is also the listener, must be mindful of being non-judgmental, non-defensive, and instead holding space. And we've done an episode about holding space. We've referred to it several times, right? But again, as a reminder, holding space is knowing that you don't need to fix anything. You don't need to change it. You don't need to make your partner feel better in that moment. You're literally just creating a non-judgmental open space for your partner to move that emotion, energy in motion.
The biggest key there, and this came up on a session for us more recently, there is an intent here for, we're calling it the receiver. And I've seen it a lot in men specifically where you do have the best intentions. Like you don't want your partner to feel sad or unsafe or disappointed. And so you want to reassure them that they don't have to feel this way. And oftentimes, though that's a great intent to have, it actually does what? It has them feel invalidated. It has them feel like they should not be feeling what they're feeling. And when you're trying to tell your partner, you don't have to feel that way to try to fix their emotional state, it just makes it worse. So it's just an example of that your intent is just not enough, because emotional safety is really about your partner knowing it's okay to feel what they're trying to feel, not trying to get them to a better place or to say, you don't have to feel that. It's almost a sense of saying, just get over it.
Mm-hmm. And that can very quickly escalate into a disagreement, right? The moment that the sender feels as though they're either being judged or that defensiveness is coming up or they're being invalidated, the emotion only gets escalated. And then the other person gets triggered. And then it starts to become, person triggering the other. And so we're going to get into the fourth point in a moment about creating more of a intentional conversation, creating that safe space. We do want to say, because we know that this is one of the most challenging thing for couples to do, it's actually at our couples workshop, the thing that people say they struggle with the most is, number one, expressing their emotions in a constructive way from that I perspective. But then second, the receiver truly listening from a non-judgmental space. So sometimes having a very kind of constructed safe space for that is helpful. And that's what we do at the couples workshop. So if you're in or near Arizona, you do not want to miss the last couples workshop of 2021. Ooh. It is happening September 26th. And it's just an incredible day for you to focus on your relationship, be guided through communication exercises. We come around, support you, answer your questions. Like those places you get blocked, we help you get past that block. Mm-hmm. So you can actually go to thecouplesworkshop.com to save your seats for that in-person workshop, September 26th. And some of you, again, we know we have international listeners. If you can't make it to Arizona because you are very far away, then we actually have a treat for you. And we had a past workshop recorded in studio, and you can actually get, for this week only because of Labor Day, you can actually get $30 off the recorded version of the couples workshop. So you have lifetime access. You can go through it all at once, or you can break it up. And so you can actually get that. You're going to want to write this coupon code down. Podcast 30, all lowercase, all together, podcast 30 to get $30 off. And that is at thecouplesexperience.com/workshop. So go there. Again, it's thecouplesworkshop.com for the live in-person one. And then for the recorded, it is thecouplesexperience.com/workshop. And those links will also be in the show notes.
Yeah, really excited for those that are going to be in person September 26th. The last workshop we did in August was amazing, and excited to do this, one more time this year, as well as those that are going to be participating from the studio recording. It's just so powerful to be able to do with your partner from anywhere. I want to close this receiver section out, and I'll bring in a little bit of my old background, if you will, from engineering. So I like analogies, and I'm not expecting people to know this, but in electrical signal engineering, this happens all in our life. We don't even know it's happening. From your device, from your phone, from your Apple TV, your Amazon TV, all these signals are being passed back and forth. And these devices are either a sender and or receiver based on the information. And what's needed for a message, what they call a packet of information, to be received in its complete state is for an acknowledgement receipt to be sent back from the receiver.
Yeah, like, did you get the memo?
Yeah. And so your phone like sends a signal out to maybe someone else's phone or to a web browser. It sends a request out in a sense. And for the message to be received, the receiver has to send back this acknowledgement packet. So what does this have to do with you, a partner in the receiver position, if you will? Acknowledgement. You have to acknowledge receipt. You have to let your partner know that you are fully receiving them, their emotion, and what they're sharing. And oftentimes that can sound like, hey, what I'm hearing you say is, acknowledge what they're feeling. Or don't try to say, you don't have to feel that. That wasn't my intent. No, it's okay. You can just get past it. It's all right. You don't have to feel that. No, you have to acknowledge receipt for the message to be complete, for your partner, the sender, to feel as if they are safe to share, means the message got the signal back that, hey, it's okay, I receive it, and now we can move forward.
Yeah, and sometimes you may need to process this in what they said, and so you could even just say, thank you so much for sharing that. Like, sometimes that's all that you need to say, right? And we'll make sure to share more examples on Instagram of ways you can acknowledge receipt and what to say back. Now, we know that the receiver role, the listener, can be almost equally, if not more challenging than the sender, right? Like, the sender is got to be vulnerable, open up, you're putting the heart on the line. It isn't easy to always open up and express our emotions. The receiver role is also challenging for many of the reasons we've already described. Like, it's hard to not take emotions personally. It's hard to not want to fix it. These are all things you're going to have to consciously choose to do differently. So what I want to invite you to doing is shift your perception from taking their emotion personally or needing to fix it to instead, wow, my partner is giving me this gift of vulnerability and is releasing something important. It's a gift that they're being vulnerable with you, even if that vulnerability is expressing the anger that's there, because anger's got to be released. Or if it's sadness, right? Any of those emotions that are vulnerable to express, that's a gift they are giving you. And you can also see it as them releasing something. Again, we talked about emotion, energy, and motion. You don't want them to be stuck with that. So it's like, wow, thank you for opening up about this and releasing this, because this is so healthy for both of us.
Yeah, be able to see that as a true opportunity and gift in that moment would really actually lead to our fourth point too, which is to set up a safe space, which you've already heard us say, and or container, another word that people use. And it really comes down to that you have to pick a specific time to go to your partner and share that you like to express some emotions, right? Because the opposite of this is, and the interesting word to use here is selfish. When you're feeling a strong emotion, we do get pretty selfish as far as our timing. What do I mean by that? I'm feeling this right now, so no matter what my partner is doing, I'm going to prioritize expressing this to them because I want to right now. And that's what leads you to what we've termed just blindsiding your partner. And when that happens, they're just going to be defensive because they're caught off guard.
Yeah, we hear a lot of times in our sessions that a seemingly constructive conversation becomes destructive because of the timing that's chosen. Now, we aren't saying you can be robotic and that you can always be like, okay, I can only express emotions at 7 p.m., right? Like, it's not about that. It's just that, again, as the sender, your intent is, I want this to be a healing conversation. I want this to be constructive. So I want to be conscientious of when I'm bringing this up. So I'm not going to do it at the end of a really hard day for both of us. We're both exhausted and we're falling asleep. I'm going to now bring it up. or I'm going to do it right before we go to work, or just
as they're walking out the door, right?
Any time where you're not present with each other. It's not, an intentional conversation. So what could this look like instead? Okay, hey, you know what? I find that our energy is best if we put the kids to bed early, we aren't watching TV, and we make sure our device is away. Okay, so what I'm going to do is tell my partner that after dinner, I'd like to put the kids to bed early, and I'd like to have some alone time to talk about some things before we get really tired. That's setting your partner up for success and making sure that the two of you will be in great energy. Or it's, you know what, I'd really like it if we got some alone time this Sunday. Let's get a babysitter and let's go to the park, or let's go ride bikes. Doing it in a way that it's just, again, going to be more constructive. Like, that's the key thing is, what's the timing? What are our energy states? When is my partner really depleted? I don't want to bring this up when they're depleted. I want to bring it up when our cups are as full as possible. And again, we're not saying that this is a flawless thing. There are times that emotions are just there and you got to bring it up. But even if you need to bring it up right then, and maybe it isn't the most ideal time, you can still set an intent for it. Hey, I know right now is not ideal because we got this going on and this going on. I really have got to express some emotion, but I'm only wanting to do this because I want to connect with you. I promise you, you don't need to fix it. You don't need to change it. I would just love it if you would listen. So you can actually still set your partner up for success, even if you don't feel like it's the quote unquote most opportune time.
For sure. And there's going to be times where you kind of forget and you do blindside your partner. But remember the 4 things that we talked about today. You first have to be comfortable with your own emotions. And if you are, and you just happen to bring it up at a bad time for them, it'll provide more of a space so that your partner doesn't get as defensive when you're truly comfortable with your own emotions. Then being the sender, as you just mentioned, being mindful of your intent, as well as sharing more from an I perspective. Again, even if it ends up being a bad time, or you didn't set your partner up from the time perspective, still not pointing the finger and having it be like an attack. Then as the receiver, this sets them up to be able to, okay, if I'm the person listening, this wasn't a good time, but my partner's sharing. Okay, as the receiver, let me just acknowledge receipt of what's happening. That's really the only thing as a receiver you have to do initially. It's quite easy. I've told a number of male clients in this case, I said, literally, this is so much easier than you're making it. When your partner is sharing something and expressing emotion, you could just default to just listening and acknowledge the receipt. You actually say a lot less. You basically just listen and then say, yeah, totally hear you.
That could be it.
That could actually be it.
Yeah.
And that actually goes to another principle, right, about empathy around mirroring that can kind of actually help your partner know that it's safe. And they might even continue to take the conversation deeper. They may even work themselves out because it's now a safe space to do so. And then lastly, all of that together, when you can get the right time, that can create the safe space or container.
And all of this, again, is possible if you two consciously work on your perception of emotions. So many of us didn't feel safe expressing them or feeling them growing up. So you may need to work on how you even perceive emotions, that all emotions are okay. And like we said in the very beginning, they are information. And they're helpful information. Wow, what is this showing me about myself or my partner? So you really want to make sure you're seeing emotions as something that is healthy, that's a part of the human experience, and that is a way for you to heal something, to move through something, to connect even more. If you want to feel truly connected to your partner, then emotions have to be a part of that. So we hope you took away a ton from this episode. We know this isn't easy work. This is one of the more challenging things of a partnership. Please send us a note or tag us on an Instagram story if you enjoyed this episode. Share with people in your life. More and more people need to know about this in romantic relationships. And then make sure you go and check out the workshop pages. You want to, if you're in or near Arizona, go to thecouplesworkshop.com. And then if you're outside Arizona but you want the recorded version, then go to thecouplesexperience.com/workshop and then use that coupon code podcast30. We love you all. We're so grateful for you listening. We've got your backs. Keep going, and we'll talk to you on the next episode.